we should be live on YouTube. I don't know why we're not yet.
Thank you. Want to thank all the bands playing tonight. High Disciple, Miracle Drug, Race Trader, in the hand. Wanted to bring some bands we have relationships with, people that were relevant 15, 20 years ago. That are still relevant today. Thank you.
All right. Well, I lost the NDI stream. Why did I lose the NDI stream?
25 fucking years with this record.
Fuck.
I think I was 20 years old when we recorded it.
So for some reason, I lost my screen capture, and I don't know why. Properties. Did OBS crash? There we go. Nah, I think we're back now. I see. Okay, I think we're good now. That was a little weird. Be back.
This song's called No One No More.
What's up, Howie? Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're feeling all right. All right, YouTube seems to be up. Twitch seems to be up. Facebook seems to be up. Twitch link. Okay, great. Cool, so I'm going to start from the beginning. Again, this 108 set was about a year, no, it was last November, so November 1st, 2019. They did a 2-night weekend, basically, in Brooklyn in November. First one, which is this show, was at St. Vitus, and the second show was at Brooklyn Bazaar, RIP. It's no longer doing shows, at least for the foreseeable future. These shows were interesting because they announced this show like almost a year in advance. Like I think they announced it maybe January or February of 2019, and it's sold out like within a month, or if not sooner. So I don't even think diehard 108 fans like myself were expecting the show to sell out that fast, but it did, and they were incredible. So they were celebration shows for the 25-year anniversary of Songs of Separation. So if you are not familiar with 108, Songs of Separation is their second record. So first one was Holy Name, then Songs of Separation, followed by Threefold Misery. So people, if people are curious what records to start with, if you're new to 108, I typically say either Songs of Separation or Threefold. Definitely. So Threefold has a much more aggressive metallic sound. So for people who are more into that, I would recommend starting there. But Songs of Separation is one of the best records, hands down, that I've ever heard. Purists will obviously say Holy Name. So I would say start with one of those three. But again, I would rank it more or less either Songs of Separation and Threefold or the other way around. So yeah, this first one was. So let me back up. These shows again were anniversary shows for Songs of Separation. So most of the set lists were stuff from that record. Um, so for these shows, I ended up doing 3 cameras, typical setup: stage right, stage left, and then someone at front of house. And then I had Len Carmichael from Landmine Studios, who's like my go-to guy for anything audio related. He came out and recorded the audio for me. So now that he's under quarantine like all the rest of us, he's been getting a bunch of mixes done. So now that oh shit, just knocked over a trash can. So now that he's like home, he's been knocking out a bunch of stuff. So he's gotten all the 108 stuff done. He's gotten the opening sets done for all the Have Heart shows. The Have Heart mixes are all done. So now that we're all kind of like sitting around, it's giving us at least some time to really sit down and work on this shit. So my plan is to do these live streams as often as I can. I might do like live streams that are Patreon exclusive. I might do some that are like public and others that are Patreon exclusive. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that yet, but we will cross that bridge when we need to. So I'm just going to start this. I've already synced up the camera angles, so that's done. And we're just gonna go through it. So if you've never watched me do a live stream edit, the process is pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna sit here. I'm gonna watch the show, and I'm gonna be clicking between the camera angles and making the cuts. So that's essentially what I'm doing. Is I'm cutting between the angles in real time, and that's how these videos are produced. I literally have to sit here, watch the video as it's playing. I have to cut between what angles are gonna show. So that's how this is gonna work. I typically stop every like song or every 2 songs just to like catch my breath, because it is exhausting having to watch 3 or 4 angles to catch the best moments. So I typically stop every song or 2 just to like regroup. So I'll try to answer some questions in between that. So let's just get this started. That is my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and say that's probably my favorite 2-song transition I've ever heard. It's Opposition into Deathbed. So if you listen to Songs of Separation, you'll hear that it's those 2 songs flow together perfectly, the way that's sequenced. And there's like this 10-second, if that, like a very short gap in between them. And it really, it's my favorite moment every time I see them live, is hearing that little pause in between Opposition to Deathbed. Let me play it again. It's a little shaky because I'm on the side of the stage singing along, trying to film. So I wonder if it seems like the chat is not working, but it's really shaky because I'm like trying to keep it steady, but I'm also screaming at the top of my fucking lungs. So that happens a lot during the set, and I can't help it because people are always asking me like, are there ever bands that you would rather sing along to than film? And yeah, I mean, definitely that does happen, and 108 is one of those bands. But I love filming them, so I'm stuck in this position where like I want to film, but I also want to like scream and sing along. So sometimes stuff like this happens where the footage gets a little shakier than normal. It's getting colder. Two, yeah. Death. Death. Smile with the sun on your lips. Breathless cries over lifeless eyes. Your bodies. Your bodies. Your body's here. Your body's here. Watch your dream. Damn. Okay, so that was the first two songs, 108 into Deathbed. If this is your first time hearing 108, I'm glad that you're tuning in because hearing and seeing them live is incredible. And again, those are two of their most popular songs and two of my personal favorite songs of theirs. So if you're into that, please dig into 108. Again, check out the records Songs of Separation and Threefold Misery. The newer records are also good. 1861 and A New Beat from a Dead Heart. Those both came out on Death Wish in the last I think A New Beat came out in 2009 maybe 2010. But yeah, dig into their stuff from the 90s. It's really incredible. We're gonna keep going. So we're about 6.5 minutes into this hour-long set. So.
Thank you. Want to thank all the bands who played tonight. High Disciple, Miracle Drug, Race Trader, in the hand. Wanted to bring some bands we have relationships with, people that were relevant 15, 20 years ago that are still relevant today. So thank you to them for coming out. And thank you for coming out. 25 fucking years with this record. I think I was 20 years old when we recorded it.
So I'm going to try answering some questions here. Is it hard to get audio from the sound guy? It depends. For this show, like I work with the band and I'm good friends with the band, so it's very easy to get their permission. So it really depends on where the show is, what band is playing, who's the promoter. So at this point, like I have a pretty good relationship with most of the promoters and venues that I shoot at and promoters like whose shows that I shoot, that it's not that hard to get permission to multi-track. It really depends on the band, whether the band is cool with it. But yeah, so I don't always get a soundboard feed. I'll typically just record everything onto like an external mic and that's it. So the vast majority of hate5six videos are recorded with just like an ambient audio source and I'm not getting any sort of soundboard feed. If I can't do a multi-track is basically like we are miking all the instruments, miking all the vocal mics and getting a feed for everything. So all of like This Is Hardcore, all of like the stuff from 108, all the stuff from To The Season, that stuff was multi-tracked and Len basically comes out with his recording rig and pulls all those channels. It's anywhere between 16 to 24 channels depending on the setup, and he'll mix and master everything, or we'll have like a small team of people help mix and master. If we're not able to multi-track, then the next best thing is just getting like a left-right stereo feed. So we'll basically capture left-right stereo feed from the house soundboard, and then I'll mix that with like an ambient audio source and do my best to like split the difference essentially. So what else we got here? Okay.
This song's called No One No More. It's called No One No More. Yeah.
can tell old people are under hurt for a show when they lose their glasses. I lost my glasses in the mosh pit.
Yo, where's my hearing aid at?
All right, so someone's asking if it's not easy to pick the right time to change frames to cut. It depends. So for a band like 108, like I know when I'm gonna cut, or I know the way that I film this set wasn't the way that I film a lot of my shows, or a lot of the stuff that I film it knowing how I'm gonna cut it. So I do certain like pans. I'll like focus on the drummer, and then as right when he's about to like hit the cymbals, I'll like quickly pan over to the crowd. So that's a movement that I do a lot. So typically when I'm filming, I know that, okay, I'm zooming in on the drummer. He's about to hit the cymbals. I'm going to pan it, knowing that when I'm editing, I'm going to cut at that sort of pan moment. So it helps when I know the band, and helps when I know the band, if I've seen them a bunch, and if I love the band, because I sort of anticipate these moments when I'm going to make the cut. So it really depends. There's also stuff like so the Have Heart shows, the Have Heart stuff that I'm still editing right now, like that band satisfies all the criteria. Like I love them. I've seen them a bunch. I filmed it knowing how I'm going to cut it, but I know that those videos are going to be some of the most watched stuff I'll ever put out. So there's a lot more pressure on me to make sure that I'm choosing the right cuts with those. So I know that this 108 set's going to get a lot of views, but like, for example, those Half Heart sets are going to get like an astronomically high number of views compared to everything else. So there is more pressure on me to make sure that when I'm editing those, like I'm choosing the perfect time to cut. Not just the perfect time to cut, but choosing the perfect cut itself. So choosing the cut between cameras 2 and 3 versus 2 and 1, or 3 and 4, for example. So it's these are decisions that I have to make. But for a show like this where it was only 3 angles, and I kind of filmed it knowing how I was going to kind of cut it. Like it's difficult, but it's not as difficult, or not as stressful, or I don't know. It's when you know that like thousands of people are going to be seeing something that you produce, there is pressure on you to do it right, is basically what I'm trying to say.
So for those that don't know, we got Miss Kate ready on guitar, Kelly, Lisa, Mr. Victor Brooks-Kishore on guitar, the fabulous Mike Chastain on drums, and the infamous Trivacrom on our bass. I tried to pitch him, he's a new father, and I tried to pitch that I could wear his baby daughter on the baby Bjorn while we did the set, but luckily his wife was, her girlfriend's here, she said no go, so kept it as is. All right, Sanananda.
So I had my friend Vinny running this camera. I don't know, Vinny, if you're watching. Vinny doesn't film shows. He's a good friend of mine, and I asked him to help shoot, but he did the best he could, is all I'm going to say. Okay, so I had a question from someone. Where did it go? Have I ever considered a way of putting out live sets where the viewers can choose the multiple angles? Yes. So that's a great idea and something I've thought about. So he's asking, or this person's asking, so obviously I'm sitting here and cutting between these three angles, and that's what I put out, and that's all you get to see. So what they're asking is there a way for me to upload all three of these angles and have you, the viewer, as you're watching, like click through and choose your own multi-camera experience? And it's something that I've thought about. I don't know how it would be done. I theoretically could just upload a video that is just all three of these, basically what you're seeing on the screen here. Just it's an upload where each of these quadrants is one of the four, or in this case, one of the three angles, and you watch them all simultaneously. But in terms of like allowing viewers to like select it, I don't know how that could be done. I'm sure there is some way to do it, but I haven't thought about how I would do that. I'm sure at some point it will become very easy to do that, and I'll have to go through and I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But technically, everything that I've ever filmed with a multi-camera, like I have all that raw footage, so theoretically I could upload that if and when that technology is available to do something like that. So we'll see. That's something to keep in mind. I don't know why it seems like the chat isn't updating, or like the Twitch chat isn't updating as often as the YouTube chat for whatever reason. I'm using something called Restream. So Restream allows me to like stream to multiple platforms at the same time, and it's supposed to update each other. So essentially what it's supposed to do is anytime someone leaves a comment on Twitch, Restream is supposed to like push that comment to Facebook and YouTube and vice versa. So it doesn't seem to be working. Restream posted something this morning saying that they were under a DDoS attack, so I don't know if that's causing it. But maybe. Who knows? Sick guy. Yeah. Did you believe that he Why is that? That's the sorry truth.
You ever wanna hear? 'Cause I wanna be your most dear. I wanna be the truth of your ear. Right? Radio! Fuck me! Your reservoir of pleasure. Your heart's only treasure. Your everything. Your only thing. Your God! I wanna be a God.
I don't like that cut. Okay, I know what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna cut back to 3 here. I like that better. So it seems like, so I know Rob, the vocalist, was having some like breathing issues this night. So I can tell he's getting like a little winded. So at the end of this set, he actually runs off stage because he's not able to like breathe. And so we'll get to it, but maybe you've seen the clip. I actually start singing. I do the song Holy Name. So we'll get to that. That's like at the 51 minute mark. But yeah, I don't know. I think he was having like a lung issue, but it was still, did the best he could. How difficult is it to sync the audio? Not that difficult. So essentially what I do when I'm doing these multicam shoots is like, I tell everyone, like, I give them a signal when to start recording, and we all just start recording roughly at the same time, and we all like record continuously during the entire set. So really all you have to do is sync everything at the beginning, and as long as it's a continuous recording, and as long as the sampling rate between the audio and the video, all the audio and video sources are the same, it should stay in sync. So every now and then there will be an issue where battery died and battery had to be switched, or a memory card had to be swapped, and there's like a little bit of a gap. And actually, you can see that here. If I go to this sequence here, shows all the angles already synced. So if we zoom in, you'll see that. So this green track is the actual soundboard audio. This track right here is the stage left camera. The one above it is, sorry, bottom one was stage right. This next one is stage left, and the top one is the front of house. So these are already synced. So as you can see, like the front of house angle was running for a couple seconds before the stage left camera kicked in, and then lastly, a couple seconds after that, stage right kicked in. So these are already synced. So again, that's done, but there was an issue here where the front of house camera, I don't know what happened. Maybe either Vinny maybe accidentally hit the stop record button. He probably accidentally hit stop and then pressed it again. So there's a little bit of a gap here where I had to go through and sort of realign this. So there's essentially the front of house angle was broken up into two clips, this first one and the second one. So I had to go through and essentially just manually sync this second half or second part of his clip to the rest of the track. So it depends. Usually it's a straightforward process, but every now and then something goes wrong. But it's generally not the end of the world.
Show of hands. How many people here in their life have ever written a fucking song or a poem or drew a fucking picture? And you take those things and you put them into a cabinet and you forget about them for 10, 15, 20 years. And when it resurfaces, it brings back those memories. But if it was a vital piece of art to who you were as a person at the time, it also has a relevance to the person you've become. The person I was 27, 25 years ago when we first got together is not a person I ever want to fucking revisit. So when I think about those songs, I have to think about what they've led me to, the great things they've given me, and the great things that'll come. Every scar has a story. Every song, every word, every piece of art that you've created. Doesn't matter how far away it feels now. It's incremental to who you've become as a person. We should always honor that. This song's about a 21-year-old trying to figure out their own reality. This song is called Shun the Mask.
Plastic wall. Guess it's hard to respect.
No!
suffer.
Bleed my jealousy. Bleed my heartache. Call pleasure. Choose the thought.
So someone's asking if these cuts are getting saved to the final product, and yes, they are. That's literally what I'm doing right now. I'm watching this set and making these cuts. Like, this is how these videos are produced. I sit here and I watch all the angles and I'm cutting between them, and that gets saved into the actual final product. So if I scroll back, you'll actually see the cuts that I've made. So that's really all I'm doing. So what you're watching is you're watching the process for how these videos are actually being produced. So the other part of it is that this is just the first pass on this. So this is the first time that I'm actually watching this footage straight through. So what I'm doing, obviously, I'm making these cuts, and then when it comes to multicam stuff, I typically do at least 2 or maybe 3 passes over. So I'm gonna end up watching this set again, not today, but maybe tomorrow. I'll go through it again and refine all my cuts, make sure that they're on time, make sure I'm making the right cuts and all that good stuff. So generally with the multicam stuff, it's a multi-step process where I do the first pass where I'm watching it, I'm making these cuts, and then the later passes are me just fine-tuning everything. So I'm sure that there's some cuts in here that aren't the best, and I'm on when I review it, I'll sort of make those adjustments as needed. Off-topic question, what was it like getting a master's in computer science? So my background, I have a BS in math, and then after about like a year later, I went to grad school for my master's in computer science. It really depends. I already had some experience with programming, so I wasn't like totally lost. So it depends. If you have some programming experience, like I think you can ramp up into a master's program in computer science pretty easily. If you don't have any experience, I would probably recommend just like teaching yourself a little bit or doing like an online course or two, getting a sense for both theoretical computer science as well as like practical applications. I mean, you don't need to like build a fucking app, but you should like know the fundamentals of programming. Things like loops and conditional statements and control structures, defining variables, defining objects, all that stuff. I think if you have some familiarity with that stuff already, then going into a CS program with a math background should be pretty sufficient. Because essentially, if you have a math background, at least in my opinion, it does set you up pretty well for most technical industries, because essentially you've learned how to think logically and rigorously through problems. So I wouldn't stress about it if you don't have a strong CS background, but I would say if you have no background at all, spend a little bit of time just like teaching yourself some fundamentals, and that should give you some foundation to go into an actual like master's program. If you have specific questions, feel free to like DM me anywhere on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I'm happy to like talk about this in greater detail.
Check. Thank you. I don't really talk that much anymore. You remember in the old days I used to talk a fucking lot. But I thought I would try to say something about this song. So, Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that the definition of happiness is that you can fulfill desires. It's actually pretty cool. But as a result of doing what I tried to do with spirituality, whatever half way I did it, I kind of took a sledgehammer to all my desires. Nothing really looks that interesting anymore. So, how do you think that feels?
No walls, no bars on this game. Just identity. Solitude. I've learned what it's like to feel so. Solitary. I shiver, red face to the wall, my eyes to a mirror, this masculinity.
That song is called Solitary. That's another one of their like most well-known songs. And so if you're just getting, if you're new to 108, definitely that's a song that should be the top of your list to check out. That is one of those songs that like defines 108, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm still using Adobe Premiere. I really don't have any need to switch yet. I would like to learn DaVinci Resolve at some point, but I'm pretty content using, I'm pretty content with Premiere. How am I able to see the three cameras at the same time? Okay, so I'll quickly explain how that works. So here I'm in Premiere. This sequence here is all of the camera angles. So this top track is the front of, here we go. Hopefully you can see that. This top track is the front of house camera. The one below that is the stage left, and below that is stage right. So I basically have a sequence where all of these angles and also this audio file for the soundboard, I have it all sort of layered. And typically what I do is once I have that sequence, hopefully you can see this. It might be covered by the little picture-in-picture here, but essentially what I do, I think if I move it here, you can see it. So that's this sequence here. So what I do is once I have that sequence ready, I right-click it and I go to create a new sequence from clip. And so what that does is, let me move everything back. So what that gives me is this track. So it's essentially, you're essentially nesting a sequence within another sequence. And once you've brought it into this like new sequence, you can right-click it and go to multi-camera and enable, and that'll actually bring up the all the angles that you have nested within the other sequence. So the other thing is you need to make sure that you have this little icon enabled, toggle multi-camera view, which is just Shift 0 will turn it off and on, and that'll show it. So one, you have to like stack the video and audio elements. 2, you have to nest it in another sequence. 3, you have to like in the nested sequence, you have to enable multi-camera. And then in Premiere, you have to enable this, you have to toggle the multi-camera view. And that'll bring up all the camera angles at the same time. So that's how I do that. There might be a different way, but that's always how I've done it.
Not sure that a Marathon Dust before imagined that being screamed at in a room with people at a bar called St. Vitus in Brooklyn. But that's the fucking beauty of it. We're born in a society. It tells us our role. It tells us what our limits are. It tells us, it tries to define who we are, no matter who we know we are inside. And today more than ever, that's thematic in what you hear in the news and kind of social debates. And I can tell you, as a father, I have a child who was not the person that people upon their birth felt that they would be. And I don't get how a parent that goes through that could ever feel fucking disappointed. My joy as a father is watching my kids grow and figure out who the fuck they are, who they want to be, what impact they want to give on the world. Their job or their role isn't fucking defined by me. And this goes out to one of the bravest people I know, my oldest child, Roxy. This song is called I Am Not.
For the loaded gun, when it calls for me,
Never tried singing that one before. I think it's actually the first time we've ever done it live. Thank you. Good example of how a song, what it was written for 25 years ago, can be a little bit different today. This song goes out to revolutionaries, people who understand that political parties, shit like that, it doesn't fucking change a thing. If you don't change the person you are, the way you treat others, the way you project yourself on others, you'll do nothing, no matter how radical the intended. This song is for Sugar Broken Pod. It's called Weapon. As a weapon on the real revolution, this is the fire on the battle rebellion. This is the weapon of real revolutionary. This is the fight. Politics, it is assaulted. Something I just your brain is useless. This is the fire of the final rebellion. This is a weapon! It's not the heartbeat change. It wasn't nothing but real rain. But the rain situation of human exploitation. Why? There's a weapon of the real revolutionary. Stop around and there's the brain. By crying out, no racing! No racing!
If you're just tuning in, this is 108 live in Brooklyn. So they're looking for Gavin, Gavin from Burn. So you might want to keep watching because it gets pretty interesting in a little bit. It's a flute, not an oboe. So I'm actually going to be editing the so someone on YouTube saying that they saw 108 with Race Trader at Brooklyn Bazaar. I'm actually going to be editing that set next. So if you're waiting on that one, you might want to stay tuned or come back in like, I don't know, 45 minutes, an hour, and I'll probably still be working on it, but I'll be after this, I'm switching over to the Brooklyn Bazaar set.
Are so like fucked up. Like I keep seeing this shape on the floor. I keep thinking it's a fucking iPhone. What's that? It's funny, like we were talking the other day, and a few years ago, I won't say the person, but like they were kicked. I won't say the person, but the other day, and a few years ago, I won't say the person, but like they were kicked out of their band because they were going through some fucked up shit, and they did some stupid shit. What really fucking killed me was like looking at all the people. On one hand, we're like, oh shit, look what happened to our old friend or this person we looked up to. But the second hand, they had this fucking sense of glee that this person was struggling with addiction and because of that doing crazy shit. And it really hit me that, kind of what he's saying, like floor and there's nowhere else to go. The people that are around you should be around you. They have their busy lives, whatever, their own things, and they fucking scanter away. Or maybe they post something on a fucking page, wishing someone well, but then gleefully fucking piling on and commenting on their shit. It's just fucked up. So this is for those who've gone through that type of shit. Let them see you on the other side. This song's called Request Denied.
Watch them all go down.
Another sucker. Subscribe to the norm. Die! Don't die! Eat hell! Fuck that! Fall this! Destiny!
So that's Gavin from Burn. Hey, Tim. Thanks for tuning in. I think the mic's working pretty well today.
Thank you.
So that was Gavin from Burn. Gavin and Vic were actually in Burn, so it's cool to see them back on stage together. So I'm gonna let this play out. So you'll see that there's a really long gap here. So basically, what happens is they're supposed to do an encore, and this is where Rob leaves the stage and doesn't come back, and I have to step in and do Holy Name. So we'll see that in a second. Yeah, Tim, I think the mic's working pretty well today. After I switched it to basically use the Zoom as an audio interface, I think it cleaned up the issue. So.
That was the Songs of Separation record, in case you didn't buy it.
No, there's another video of me. If you look up I'll pull it up for you. So someone's asking if me singing with 108 is the first time I've been in one of my own videos. That's not the case. So if you go to the site, you type in here. Let's do this. Whoops. Type in cover set. Cover set was actually a Mindset set. The story was that Mindset got stuck in a snowstorm, and this is actually day one of the first European tour in December 2012. So I arrived in, Helsinki, Finland, and half the band didn't make it. It was basically me, I think Austin and Defang made it, and everyone else didn't make it. So we arrived, and the promoter was like, all right, you guys have to do a cover set. So I sang a couple 108. I did a couple Inside Out songs. A Ram from Betrayed and Champion did a couple songs, and I think someone else did one or two songs. So it was actually a lot of fun. This is one of the only times I've been in front of a mic on video. I think if you go to... there was another set in Vermont. Where was it? That was at... Let me find it. Burlington. I think it was the praise set at the Hub in Bristol, Vermont. I think I do an Inside Out song during this set as well. Whoops. I want to say I do it like towards the end. Or I do like a verse or something. I mean, that's me there. So yeah, there's not many examples of me actually singing along, but if you dig, you'll find it.
Well, I want to thank everybody. I feel pretty good right now. I think we need a stunt double for Ross Raj. Ross, are you here? Okay, Gavin, get back up.
So if you listen closely, they're basically asking for Rob, but he left the stage because he was having like a lung issue. So basically, people in the crowd, it was started by JC, my photographer friend JC, was basically saying, Sonny is going to sing it, Sonny's going to sing it.
Sometimes I feel.
So now Triv is looking at me. I'm holding the stage left camera. He's looking at me saying, hey, do you want to sing Holy Name? And I'm like, what? So I was supposed to blow the conch shell, and that's what I'm saying. I thought I was going to blow the shell. He's like, no, you're singing too. So I'm like a little confused. I was not expecting to do this. Yeah, it was awkward, but I actually had a lot of fucking fun doing this. So at this point, like, I'm fucking tired because this has been like an hour-long set. I was filming it. I was also singing along. And so I was already drained. And Holy Name is one of the hardest songs of theirs to sing along to because if you've never heard it, it's very fast. And the lyrics are just like, there's no breaks at all. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to fucking figure this out. So I take the camera back, and I'm like struggling for I mean, I think they do one more song after this. I was struggling for the next like 6 minutes. And then right after the set ended, I ran in the bathroom and fucking threw up because I was like, not nervous, but just because I was tired and went all fucking out. I like had nothing left at that point.
Did John Joseph go home to go to bed? I think that's a yes.
I'm going to cut all this stuff out.
It's like hardcore karaoke. I didn't know that had been back.
I'm going to trim this up, but I kind of want to relive this right now. Just the awkward moment of trying to find someone to sing the last song.
Satanic ritual. Set the corpse up on the table. I the horns if you're killer of the animal. Only demon could dine on the flesh of the dead. Each hair on the back of each cow is a birth you'll spend in the killer of the soul. Forever embrace your decisions. Agents.
All right, so that's the first half of the first 108 show. Again, so if we zoom out here, you'll see all the cuts that I made. So each of these is basically a cut between all the different angles. And so what I'll do tomorrow, maybe later tonight, we'll see, is just go through and refine all these because they might be off time a little bit, or I might decide to cut between two different angles or whatever. So, but typically the process is step one is to just do one full pass over it. And then I'll do a second and third pass just to like fine tune everything. So, all right, let's move on to the second 108 show. The second show, I only did 2 camera angles. So that was a much easier, it was easier to shoot, but it's also going to be easier to edit because there's fewer decisions that I need to make when cutting. So, okay. So, how's everyone doing? I'm hoping that I'm trying to do these live streams because I've literally just been inside my house for the last however many days and I haven't left and I haven't like interacted with any humans. So, I'm sure I'm not alone here when I say that like this shit sucks. I'm glad that I at least have like stuff to do. Like I have plenty of videos to edit, but I am losing my mind. Like I really do want to go to shows again. I like want to go out, like go to like a restaurant or meet up with friends, but like I can't do any of that right now. So it's I'm sure I speak for many when I say that this is a very trying time. All right. So what I'm doing is, let me just explain what I'm doing here. Again, this is just a 2-angle set. So basically what I've done is I brought in the stage right angle and the stage left angle, and I added the audio track here. So I've put them all in the same timeline, and I'm running this plugin that I use called Pluralize. And what Pluralize is going to do, it's going to automatically sync everything. So this can take a couple minutes. Sometimes it's pretty fast. Sometimes it's very slow. But basically what it's doing, it's figuring out how to like realign everything. So one angle may have started like a couple milliseconds before the other one. So what it's going to do, it's automatically going to readjust everything for me. I could do it by hand. I could basically like look for the drummer counting off or something and use that as a sync point. But just out of habit, I more or less just run Pluralize and let it do its thing. So kind of got to wait it out. The sync point, but this is just a 2-angle. All right. Seems like the chat is dead. I see Caitlin. Caitlin's offering to drop off Ladybug. So if you've seen my Instagram stories, Ladybug is this cute Yorkshire Terrier that I get to babysit every now and then. She lives like not even a block away. So Kate is offering to drop off Ladybug. And we'll see. Let me finish this. After I finish just editing this, I'm probably going to want to take a break because I've already been streaming since over an hour at this point. So we'll see. I'm probably going to after I edit this one, I'm maybe going to make some lunch, eat that, maybe take a nap, and then go back to some more editing. So I'll let you know. It's possible that I want some time with the pup. She's being a butthead. Yeah. I imagine she gets a little stir crazy not being able to leave the house and wants some stimuli. So yeah, it might be good to get her out of the house for a little bit. Man, I am so tired. like people don't realize that sitting and watching 3 or 4 camera angles of a set is actually pretty tiring, because I have to basically, I'm trying to pay attention to figure out what angle is the most exciting at each given point and make the decision like when to cut to it. So I could sit here and blindly just like cut between them, but I'm trying to like, I try to cut in a way that keeps things interesting. So it does take a little bit of mental energy to do it properly. God damn. Damn, I've been streaming for an hour and 42 minutes. Okay. Pluralize is kind of the bane of my existence right now. It's only 2 angles with a soundboard feed, and it's just like stuck at 18%. Every time I do a live stream, this happens. Like I'll run Pluralize, and it just does this where it never wants to speed up. But then as soon as I get off the stream, it will finish immediately. So 19%, making some progress. I really feel like we're going to be in this situation for a very long time. Like I really don't see us getting out of this isolation shit for months. Ugh. 20%. Arrest warrant issued for Tampa megachurch pastor who led PAC services despite safer at home orders. Fox News reportedly fears its early downplaying of COVID-19 leaves it open to lawsuits. God, fucking news is just crazy. %. All right, you know what? I'm going to hop off the stream. I'm going to go make something to eat. And then by the time I come back, hopefully Pluralize will be done and I'll resume the stream. So thanks for tuning in. If you found this interesting, again, I'll be popping back in TBD what time. But again, I know you're all stuck at home like me, so I'm sure you'll get the notification. But I will see you guys in a bit.